We're starting a little project with some friends of mine on Twitter that are doing boot camps, learning to code, self-learning to code, and for like a 1 week objective, it was I suggested that to try build a backend using Express on Node, and just work with Postman. Hitting those APIs for a CRUD. So create, read, update, and delete. So what I did is I created a basic structure here. If you see a pause, by the way, it's because I'm trying to remove from my vocabulary. And it's not easy to do. So what I suggested, first thing I did is suggested you fork. So you would click the fork button. And the fork button would mean that your name would replace mine here. And then underneath there'd be like a little pipe, and it would say my username and then the name of the project. Kind of like this, but in smaller text. If you've done that, then you've effectively created a clone of the project, or a fork. Now what we want you to do is you should go to your clone button on your username, and you click the copy. If I show you the next little bit and it doesn't work, then click this part and you can copy that and try the same thing. So do that. So I'm going to do it this way though, but just follow along. So I'm in my folder, very simple folder, and it's called Twitter, because so we're going to be doing these things for a while, and I'm kind of excited about it, so I guess I gave it its own folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this project in. So you have two different ways. The instructions doesn't say this, but it assumes you used a dot. But I'm not going to do that in this one because I want a subfolder to be created, which in this case it will do. So there we go. Now you have to go into the folder, Twitter to do app. And looking through, so we got forked it. Well, you forked it. I cloned it, and then cloned it. And then what you want to do is you want to install. So looking here, you see I've ignored some files. This is something you want to do because it will be thousands of files on any project. And this one is just me because I have files that Macs use, and they insert this. So this is when we run the command npm install. It's going to install anything that is either a production dependency or a developer dependency. Developer dependencies are tools that developers need or use to make development easier. The instructions and everything will be here, as will the link, because I'm going to upload this video. And this is the server. So I'll walk through that in a second. Let's go back to the instructions. So I also have to fix this. This should be on a new line. This should be on a new line. So there's some little tweaks I'm going to make to the code. I keep forgetting this actually. So we're going to do run npm install. You can copy if you wish. Let's see if it'll play nice. Copy, paste, and we're in the right folder. See, I'm in the right folder. If you're not sure if you're in the right folder, go pwd. It might be different if you're on Windows, I'm not sure, or Linux, but I think if it's Linux, it's definitely that. So let me just clear to get rid of some of the noise. So the purpose of this is to show your absolute directory so you can see I am in the directory I want to be in. So let me clear away this terminal and go npm install. Just so you know, you can actually just go npm I. And you will see that in lots of other videos. So npm install. And then you will see this. If this doesn't show at all, then there might be errors and other things that you'll see here. But if you don't see that activity that shows it's actually being installed, then you probably don't have Node installed, which then you have to refer back to the instructions here where I talk about that. So you'll see the Node modules is in red. This may not be red in yours, but it should be a discoloring because my git ignore specifically says to ignore it, and this is my IDE telling me that that file is ignored. Okay, so sorry, I just clicked off just so that the coloring would see. The coloring is gray when you select it, so I just clicked something to get away, but I want you to focus there and you see the red. So that's great, because if I were to delete that one line, this line right here, which I won't do, it'll actually show thousands here are now being tracked by your Git, and I really don't want to do that. So this is showing you an exact copy of all the files that, like down to the subversion, that's not really the right term, down to the version number specifically of each package that makes up the major packages. So inside of, let's say, let's go to Express. We specifically installed this one, and you see here, and it has its own package JSON, and it has its own modules that it's installed, and that's the library right here, and how it's all made up. Okay, some of these will have other things. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find a good one. No. Oddly, I'm going to probably pick all the ones that are very simplistic, but the point is that there are thousands of packages in here, and we don't want to track them. So that's why we did the ignore. Okay, so now it's installed. So we know it's installed because if we run this right here, this here is if your editor wasn't open on the correct page, on the correct section. So I've CD'd and all that wonderful stuff to get into here. But if I delete this command terminal and I open it, you see how it takes me back to there. So if I go ls, I'm no longer in the folder. So if I run npm run dev, which is the next one of the next steps right there, it will fail. See, it fails. Okay, and the reason is because I'm not in this project. And so the reason I did this is because if you use VS Code, it'll actually open when you. I have to rewind it a little bit. If I'm back here, where I would assume you are, then if you ran this, it'll open a new Visual Studio Code that now is, this is the project folder. Okay? So instead of being in the parent folder, you're actually going to be in the child folder. So let's move this over here. Nobody needs to see the background of my Star Wars fandom. Okay, so now when you open the terminal, it will always open to that directory. You don't have to worry about getting in and out, in and out, in and out. You're always in your project. And that was the only reason I really had this. Okay, now we're going to go down here. We're going to check that we have all the right packages, and we do. Now we're going to run npm run dev. Right from that folder. And it says we're on this thing. So the reason why, I'm going to explain one part of this file right now because it relates. The reason why I do this console log exactly like this is because it prints this line. And that's, look at that, it's clickable. I click it and it opens. So let me just pull this down a smidge here. There we go. So what you want to see is localhost 5000, and that's that right there. And now you see the hello world that I've set up for you. So you should see this now, okay? So let's go back to our project. And now that we're talking about the server file, I'm going to talk about that for a minute. So what I've done is I set up a stock file. These items at the top here and these items at the bottom are things you shouldn't bother changing, okay? So don't change above this line. Okay, put some dots or something like that there, and then maybe copy that, move that down, and say don't change below this line. Okay, and I'm going to take some more of those dots there and add them. There we go. There we go. Just to, you know, make it crystal clear what's going on. So this is boilerplate. This is just setting up your express middleware, which is a whole conversation. We'll get there. There's no point in overwhelming you today. So this is setting all that up so that you can run your routes. And this route is saying slash, essentially, when we go back to that localhost, right? That's slash, like index.html. It's saying on the home route, this is like saying the home route, I want you to respond. And another way of writing this, by the way, is request response, because that's what they are. But since parameters can be named anything, I use what's convention in all the videos that you'll see. And I didn't want you to be like, why is this guy writing rec and res when it's request and response, right? If you see that on mine and then you see this on everybody else's, you'll be confused. Unnecessarily confused. There's no greater learning from that situation. So do it like this, and you'll see the hello world. And this is the foundation that you can build off of. But remember, as I say here, this is the UI. I don't know why there's this random highlighting in here. But anyway, this is a UI-driven one, but it's only there to show you that it's running. I just wanted you to know. You don't have to necessarily change it. It won't affect anything. And if you look down here, I even say, as part of your objective, you should have /API. So there should be no collisions in your work between what you're doing and this. Okay? And this one down here is just saying if this is not true, which we can get into, right? Then give it this number. Okay, and then I pass this number, which defines the port that it's listening on, right? In the browser when we went localhost, localhost 5000, then that's where it's listening. If I say 3000, 3200, 3201, it will work every time. Okay, but we're not going to do that. 5000 and 3000 are your most common. And this here, where you see no non, I'll roll that over here. This is one of the packages we installed for the developers. And the reason why we installed that is actually by what you're seeing right here. You see restarting, starting, restarting, starting. Every time I make a change, no matter how cosmetic it is, let's see, if I add another dash here and I save it, it's restarting, it's rebooting the server, and then it's starting it right there. Okay, but what'll happen here is you just click refresh. You don't see that. See the little refresh? It'll refresh, and you'll see it. And that's what we want. We want to constantly refresh what we're seeing when we're using a visual. Again, this is sorry, not when we're using visual. At any time, that'll affect your Postman work as well. I don't think there's anything else. At this point, it's rather exploratory. This link will be updated. Follow the instructions, try to stick to the objectives, and be ready for Monday. Good luck. And I'll also fix that README, by the way, in a second. And one last thing. Control-C is how you kill the server on a Mac. Okay, you can just Google stop server express Windows 10, and it'll tell you. Okay, but if you're on a Linux, it's still the same thing. Control-C, and it will kill the server. When you want to start it again, npm run dev. Though usually the only time you kill the server is if you've installed new packages. Then it's considered smart to restart the server, because when you do, you know for sure it's including any changes to those packages into the service. Lots of times you don't need to, but You just don't know when you don't know. Okay? Good luck.